Ride with the Women Road Warriors Tuesdays at 8, 7 Central on tncradio.live.
Catch Landline Now every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, along with an encore presentation weekdays at noon, right here on tncradio.live.
Come on in, everybody. It's time for the Southern Route. So what's the Southern Route all about? Well, it's about Southern stuff. Southern people, Southern music, Southern food, Southern nights, Southern traditions, nostalgia, and so much more. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Southern Route. I'm your host, Shannon Courier. Can I just say how excited I am every week to be back with y'all and how much I appreciate you listening in and supporting this show and podcast. Appreciate you all very much. I want to remind everybody, too, if you miss a live air of the show, which it airs on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock p.m. on tncradio.live. If you miss the live airing, you can always find the podcast recordings as well at tncradio.live under the podcast tab, or you can find them on Podchaser or Spotify or Amazon Music. So we're back this week for part 2 of my interview with my friend Wade Jones, the season 2 winner of Redneck Island. We finished our last episode talking about the human cornhole game, where contestants were launched from the blob and had to try to land in foam beer tops to get points for their team. You know, there's not much you can do when you're 125 pounds and you have 250 pounds launching you from the blob into the air. You try to fly, but it just doesn't work. So we're picking up this week in this episode with the next Steve Says Challenge. That is Stone Cold Steve Austin, of course. The next Steve Says Challenge for the participants. They are trying to win some food and drinks for their camp. So let's rejoin the conversation. So Wade, tell us about this Lederhosen beer race.
That was absolutely horrible, because it was just greased plastic. And any drinker knows what a beer mug looks like. If you've been into any German drinking establishments, you've got the Das Boot, the big beer boot. And then you know what a shot glass is.
Right.
So we basically had to take beer and shot glasses and go up about a 45 angle greased plastic incline we were going down to empty it into the boots, to fill the boots, to try to win this competition. That was actually a Steve Says competition. We had competitions that you could have been voted off the island. Then we had Steve Said that if you won that, you won like food, drinks, cookies. It was something for the betterment of the camp.
So if you didn't win those, you didn't get anything.
You didn't get nothing. So the problem
fish.
about halfway through that one is we started getting some traction. So they stopped it in true reality fashion and re-greased it. Some of the girls, bless their hearts, spent more time on their butt than they did on their feet.
No leg up for the contestants.
No, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I think that was the one that we won, like hot dog buns. Everybody was wanting beer. But they put me and Darren, which we had one of the best times, they put me and Darren on like the condiments, like lettuce and tomatoes.
Yeah.
But
nobody cared about that.
I think we won hot dogs, but we didn't win the buns or something crazy like that. It's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years
now.
Well, there was lots of fun things. The human pontoon, that cracked me up. That was some strength, pulling the human pontoons in. Y'all had these big, I guess, foam things out of the water. They had ropes attached to them, and y'all had to pull them in as fast as you could and bring these puzzle pieces and put a puzzle together. And y'all were way behind. Y'all were way behind in that one because Will was still there.
Will was there.
And he was pulling them in.
That was his competition that day. Because what most people don't know, if they haven't watched the show and they didn't pay that much attention to the show, is Will worked on crab boats. And you're constantly pulling things in out of the water to the crab boat.
I think I missed the crab boat thing.
When we saw that happening, I was like, oh, no. And it was Will's game, the part of the game, pulling people in. What was not his game, or the rest of that team, was putting that puzzle together.
Yeah.
Because that puzzle, and these reality competitions, anybody that gets the opportunity to do something like this, it is a team effort when you're at one of those competitions. Always figure out who's the best team leader. Don't let your pride get in the way. Mm-hmm. Who can direct people the best way possible? And let that person take over, because the green team's problem that time was it had way too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Right. Everybody was telling them the pieces to put up there, and everybody was confused when we had one person that was saying, go here, go here, go here, go here.
Right. And I do feel like your team was better at delegating the right person
problem solving
for each game or each competition that you had. And of course there was beer pong. There's got to be beer pong in a competition like this, and the eating contest. Okay, the eating contest, you did not hesitate. I was like, oh my gosh, he's cramming that in there. He's eating it like it's pizza, like it's the best food you've ever had. And you took one for the team on that. You took all the bad tasting stuff off that table.
Okay, so
I would have thrown up.
I love to eat. I know you can't tell that by this Greek Adonis body that I've got, but I love to eat. And every competition that I'd ever seen like this, they threw in some type of eating contest. Usually it was either the amount that you could eat or the nasty stuff you could eat.
Right.
I've been in eating competitions for years. Most people don't know that because it's not been on a huge scale. We went to, and this, I'm going to tell our age again, the mini truck competition at Garrett Coliseum one time. You've got a car show over here. I never understood the mini truck phase, the lowrider trucks.
Right.
But they were around the side with a stereo competition. And then where the stereo competition was, they had a sugar wafer eating competition.
Ooh.
Guess who won that? So I love eating, and I love a good competition, and I have a cast iron stomach. I can eat just about anything. And I told them, I said, I'll get as much stuff as I can off the table for you. Now, we're talking a whole double shot glass of vinegar, a whole double shot glass of wasabi.
The wasabi got me watching you eat that.
Just raw cabbage, everything. The worst thing in the 15 things that I ate, to me, was the baby food.
Really?
It's absolutely horrible.
Didn't you eat like some cow tongue or something disgusting?
That's just a texture. There was no taste to it. It literally, you got to understand, these guys are worried about killing you too. Because if they kill you on set, man, they got a civil suit. So everything was, we knew it couldn't hurt you.
Right.
And that was part of the process getting on the show, is going through a whole series of tests. They know what will kill you and what won't. But I wanted to get as much of that stuff off of there as I could. And the way that you could do it, it was part of a poker. So you would go pick up an item, and if that person thought that they could eat it, they'd say, okay, and they'd go get another item, and you could call at any time.
Right.
But if you called, or they called, you had to eat.
You had to eat all the stuff you had picked.
And we had put 15 or 16 of the nastiest items out there. And it just was my competition that day.
Yeah. I mean, you act like you thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, you could have eaten more, I think.
I could have.
Yeah. Poor Kyle threw up.
Kyle threw up. A lot of other people, kind of babbled and almost threw up.
Yeah.
Kyle was the first one to really toss monkeys. Now, I will say that Kelly, she took one for the team, because when her and Liza came in front of each other, they had gotten pretty close, even though they were on opposite teams. And she knew that Kelly could not stand any kind of fish or any kind of seafood or anything. Mm-hmm. There were only 2 items there, but one of them was shrimp, who Kelly absolutely despised. So when Kelly had to eat that, you could just tell she was ready to throw up at any time. I stayed in her ear and said, you can do it, just trying to give her some confidence that she was already in her mind defeated when she saw Liza pick up that shrimp
right
at the table.
Yeah.
In her mind, she was already defeated. So she just had to have her mind changed.
She did good. I felt sorry for her because at the end I was like, she's going to lose it. She's going to lose it. And then she said, I just threw up in my mouth and swallowed it back down. Bless her heart. That's awful. But she said you staying in her ear is what helped keep her going. So that's one thing. I don't know. I'm a food texture person. I don't know that I could have done it. So y'all did a bow and arrow food pyramid where you had, this was one of those Steve said thing, trying to get some food. Y'all didn't hardly get anything off of that.
No, it's because you got to understand the food pyramid episode, they gave you a bow that everybody had to be able to pull back. So, I mean, a 6-year-old kid could have pulled this bow back. The problem with a bow cut down that low is the accuracy is nothing.
Yeah.
You literally had to go over your target 6 foot to try to get it just to get out there. And then it wasn't powerful enough to stick in the board.
So you were on the losing end of that already.
Yes.
All right. So then we had the 6-pack rope swing.
Yes, that was another one of those items that you could see anybody country doing on a river any weekend.
Absolutely. I grew up on Lake Martin over here, and we did the rope swing and, Chimney Rock and all that stuff all summer long.
That one just fell into that Southern persona.
It looked like fun. I would have enjoyed that one. The redneck trivia was funny.
Yeah, the trivia.
I actually knew all those answers. I was like, okay, I knew all those answers.
Yeah, the trivia was one of those that separated the men from the boys. It showed a lot of people. Not going to mention any names. There were some contestants on that show that were not picked because they were from the country. They were picked from photos and a good interview.
Good interview and how they look physically to be on the show.
And remind me, I'll tell you how I think I got picked before we stopped.
Okay. All right. And then you had the Burrow 500. I'm just going to tell you, you're a poor little donkey. I mean, you could have pushed him with your feet. Your feet were touching the ground riding that thing.
Okay.
That's no wonder he didn't want to run.
The person that won that was Nick.
Yes.
Okay. Behind the scenes note, when we go into a competition like that and we have something like the Burrows, they put all the numbers in a hat and we pick numbers. Guess who had Nick's donkey first?
You did.
Me. Nick pulled out 2 numbers and we had to put all the numbers in the hat.
Oh, man.
And I got, the second time we drew, I got that burrow that would not move.
And I think it was the smallest one. And you're the biggest guy there.
I was the biggest guy left, yes. Yeah, it was horrible.
Feet literally dragging the ground.
I don't even like looking at that one.
Oh, my gosh. And then I'll tell you what, by this episode coming up, you were so fed up with one of the contestants because he was going back on his word. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll find out about one contestant going back on his word and how you beat him in the Human Koozie Challenge. We'll be right back on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
Ready for the power of positive and something that will put you back to a time you wanted to last forever? Music is the ultimate time machine. What was your favorite time? Do you want to go back there? LTD Radio features the songs of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that will transport you to a happier time. It'll make you smile and brighten your day. We could all use that about now. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the great music of LTD Radio.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. I am wearing a black and white shirt, cleverly to introduce a concept called dichotomous thinking. Dichotomous is 2 colors, black and white. And there are many people who think about issues in black and white. They don't know a gray area. What they typically do is see things as either all or none. They love it or they hate it. Best day ever, worst thing that could happen. Always a sense of catastrophic thinking and defeated. This thing is not going to work. It's terrible. It's also known as rigid thinking. And we have research that people who think rigidly or think dichotomously suffer more from depression and more from anxiety, more suicidal thinking. Why? Because of their inflexibility. You know, one of the hallmark signs of physical health is flexibility. If you take a person who can bend down and touch his toes or her toes without bending the knees, that's a good sign, especially when compared to a person who could barely get past the knees. Well, the same thing's true about thinking. One of the hallmark signs of a healthy person emotionally is their flexibility. They have the ability to roll with the punches. Things don't always go your way in life. But the flexible thinker is able to say, that's okay, we'll work it out. You know, the new restaurant has a 2-hour and 45-minute wait. No, we're not waiting that long. Let's try this other place. You know, the movie we wanted to see, it's sold out. That's all right. We'll catch up to it in a couple of weeks. Let's go see this one. The flexible thinker finds a way to survive. The dichotomous thinker causes issues for self and for others. Practice being a little more flexible. Now I got to change my shirt.
I'm Hope Savara. Join us on tncradio.live at 7 p.m. Eastern with Building Strong Minds with your host, Dr. Christopher Cortman.
tncradio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Welcome back, everybody. So we have a contestant that has really rubbed you the wrong way, Wade, and you and Justin both, actually. And you find out he's going back on his word and he's breaking your alliance. And the only way to keep you guys on the island is for one of you to win this Koozie challenge. The next competition was the human Koozie. The human Koozie, y'all, it was like a punching bag that looked like a beer bottle. Mm-hmm. And they had to hang on it, hanging over the water. And the last person still hanging on their beer bottle punching bag is the one that won.
Correct.
And obviously something like that, the heavier you are, it seems like the harder that's going to be.
All right. I've been asked this a lot of times over the last 10 years. It's how I hung on to the bag because we had so much working against us, especially, like you said, a heavier guy like me. Also, it was extremely hot. We were in southern Mexico.
Yeah.
It was humid, hot. It was 100 degrees during the day, 80 degrees at night. So they're also worried about us getting sunburned. So we're all greased up with suntan lotion. So when I got on there, the only thing I can attest it for is the grip that I had on. I was raised working in a convenience store where I pumped gas my whole life. I'm no Superman by no means. And being 50 years old, I'm half as strong as I used to be. But even at 40, I've always had a really, really good grip for my hands because I pumped gas, those old gas pumps.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the way I hung on because you could not hold on with your feet. Your feet were sliding off because everything was just so greasy because of the suntan lotion.
Well, it's too big. You couldn't even, your feet wouldn't even
you had to get up high enough that you're wrapped
around that neck.
And if you had grabbed yourself this way by the elbows, you didn't have grip. So I actually locked, if I wished your listeners could see, I actually locked both of my wrists like that and held on as tight as I could. And when I heard Nick hit the water, I think I remember screaming out, "Did I win? Did I win?"
You did, because you were ready to drop.
I was ready,
but you were determined to beat him.
I was. We knew one of us had to win.
Oh my gosh! So then you had the 4-wheeler obstacle course. Mm-hmm. You know, that seemed to be fairly easy for most of the guys. I mean, you and Justin jumped on that thing and whipped around. Yeah. I have to tell you, I grew up riding 4-wheelers and dirt bikes and all that stuff. Watching some of those people ride a 4-wheeler, they obviously had not
Liza
actually ridden one before.
Liza never came out of first gear.
She
She never came out of first gear.
It took her 3 days to go around the course, it seemed like.
It's horrible.
They're bouncing all over the place. And it's like on a course like that, you should know not to sit down. It's like riding a horse. You don't just sit there and bounce up and down. You use your legs to hold you up. So it was cracking me up. But y'all did great on that. Justin blew that thing out of the water.
Well, and the reason why is the four-wheeler that was used in that competition, Justin has the exact same model, exact same size, exact same everything at home. That's what he duck hunts off of. So when Justin saw it, I mean, he elbowed me. He said, "That's just like my four-wheeler." And of course, he blazed through it. And he also didn't have any mess-ups on the signs that we had to reorganize. So.
Yeah, so not only did they have to ride this four-wheeler across this course as fast as you could, but there were all these signs on the course, and then you had to come back and put them on this board in the order that they were on the course. So that was a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed that.
That was a fun competition.
So tell me this: do you still talk to anybody from your season? You and Justin seem pretty tight.
All right. Sadly, over the last 10 years, and I get it. I mean, I was so much older than everybody else. It's easy to stay in contact when you're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. But once we start getting married, our careers, things get in the way. Right now, the two people that I stay in contact with on a regular basis is my arch rival on the show, Liza. I talk to her, well, as much as I can. And then, of all people, my talent manager on that show, we are hugely good friends. She comes and stays with me and my wife every time she comes into Alabama or comes remotely close. She comes and hangs out with us. And matter of fact, she's coming by next week. She'll be in Kentucky doing a show. And she says she's getting out about a week before the cast gets there. She's going to come spend the weekend with us. So
awesome.
As far as the other cast members, me and Justin, we haven't talked in years. Me and Darren, we catch up maybe once, twice a year. Nick passed away, unfortunately. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, Nick passed away. The other girls, I kept up with Donna. Donna got married and got her family thing going on. Love her to death. I love everybody to death. But I get it.
Right.
Because I've already raised my kids. And I was that guy that got married really, really early and started having kids.
Yeah.
When all my friends were still footloose and fancy free and looking at me like, you're sticking in the mud because you don't want to go out with us. And they kind of distanced themselves away from me because I was, being the family man.
Right.
I had a convenience store back then. I had babies at home. I was where I needed to be.
You were working.
And by the time my kids got grown and I did the show, it was just me and Jan. Basically, my kids were grown and I could do things. Well, these other guys that were on the show with me started having families and careers and realized they needed to be there. So I understood the separation.
Right.
And, but it's funny that out of 14 contestants, I only really talked to one on a regular basis. And she was the one that I tried getting off of the island from the day one. Because she just was a master manipulator.
She was. She worked that system.
She did not win anything, and she had people doing her dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
She was a master manipulator.
Hey, that's part of the game too. It's part of the strategy.
That's why I told her once we got back and we got so close. I said, I hated you on that island. I said, but I hated you because I didn't think of it, and I wasn't cold hard enough to do what you did.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I had everybody doing my dirty work.
Yeah. Hey, that's part of the game. That's part of the game.
It is.
So what made you want to do this show to begin with? I mean,
it was all a joke, Janet. This whole thing started as a joke.
How did you hear about it? Janet, I didn't even know about this show.
You have sang karaoke with me a lot.
Yes.
I only sing old country. I don't know any of the newer artists. I did not watch CMT. Me and Jan, we weren't married yet. So me and Jan and my daughter were sitting around the house one night. I'm reading a paper, and my daughter's flipping through the channels. Jan's up doing her thing. And all of a sudden, she comes across CMT. Because
you got more than 4 channels by now.
Yeah, we had cable. So Hope is watching, my daughter Hope is watching CMT, and they've got Redneck Island. She says, hey, Daddy, you ought to try that. And I leaned the paper down, and I watched it for maybe 5 minutes. I said, what is it? Said, it's Survivor for Rednecks. It's on CMT. I said, oh, that's cool. Jan walks by, and the worst thing to do is tell me you can't do something. She walks by and she says, you're not going on that and embarrassing us. Well, I couldn't wait till she got to bed. I remembered the website, went to the website, did an online application, more or less just to snub it in her nose that don't tell me what to do, because I'm going to do what Wade wants to do.
That's right.
The next morning I told her, and we just laughed about it, and, everything was fine. So about 2 weeks later, you got to understand, we're on Alabama time, Central Time. In California, in LA, in Hollywood, they're 3 hours different?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So every time I was contacted by CMT or 51 Mind Productions, who does production of it, it was always at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
You're not answering the phone?
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. So the first time it happened, Jan's already asleep, Hope's already asleep, and I'm sitting there watching TV. My phone rings. I look down, it's from California. Well, I'm thinking this is another telemarketer, and I'm getting ready to cuss out or whatever at 9:30 at night. So I answered the phone. And I said, hey, this is so-and-so, so-and-so, 51 Mind Productions. Said, do you remember doing an online application? I said, for what? I'm not buying a car. They said, no, for Redneck Island. I said, oh, yeah. And I just laughed it off. They said, well, we would be interested in talking to you further. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, we need to do an online interview with you. I said, okay, how are we going to do that? They said, well, have you ever Skyped before?
Okay, wait. We have to hear the rest of the story, but we have to take another quick break too. So we'll be right back on the Southern Route here on tncradio.live.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on tncradio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on tncradio.live. Weeknights, midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hope Savara here. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live for my new show, The Driver Life Podcast. From your feet to the food you eat, from cellular health to how your cell phone affects your health, from how you move to improving your sleep. I believe it's the small, simple changes that lead to the big results in your life so that you can feel good again. We cover it all here on the Driver Life Podcast, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live.
Hey drivers, did you hear music on tncradio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.
We're back on the Southern Route. Of course, I'm your host, Shannon Courier. We are talking with Wade Jones, Season 2 winner of Redneck Island, and we have to hear the rest of the story about your Skype interview. So pick up where you left off.
Remember how country I am.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what Skype was.
Well, when
Didn't
I called
know.
you to do this, I said, hey, we got Teams, and you're like, no, I don't know what
I
that
told
is.
her. I told her real quick, guys. I'm not tech savvy. At that time, the one laptop we had in our house, I did not know that they put cameras on that thing. This was just 10 years ago. So remember, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I've got my phone in my hand, and I walk in, and I'm waking Jan up. Baby, wake up. What is it? I said, look, this is so-and-so and so-and-so from California. They're wanting to Skype with me on the computer. Has our computer got a camera on it? She pops up out of the bed and snatches the phone out of my hand. Who is this? She thinks I'm on line one of them dating apps or
Right? You're like the Allstate commercial where the wife comes in. Who you talking to?
something. Yeah. Jake from State Farm. So she's on there just blasting this girl out, and she's like, no, this is really 51 Wine Production, blah, blah. I said, can y'all do a Skype interview? She said, well, yeah, we do have a camera on him. So the next day, I did a Skype interview, and it just kept rolling. It was about every 2 weeks. And what it was doing was they had a pool of this many people, and I'm holding my arms out wide, guys, for the radio, and it had come down to a very select number out of an age group and a genre and sex and all that.
Yeah.
So I'd already done the Skype interview. I had done a 55-page questionnaire, some of the oddest questions I'd ever seen. And then they wanted me to do a short video of what I do on a normal Saturday. I don't know if you and Sam have ever seen my van, my camo van.
I have not seen your
Okay,
van.
I've got a 1990 old church van, huge, big, long van that was baby blue. I painted that thing camouflage and put stickers all over it and all that kind of stuff. So Jan was running the camera. We got in it, went and picked up a friend of mine, Jeff Smith, and we then got out of the van, took the battery out of his boat, and put in a 1983 Lincoln Town Car that we both used just to rip dirt roads. Cranked it up, has no air conditioning, nothing. It's hot. And we get the moonshine. We already drinking beer. And we're riding dirt roads. And what I think put me on that show more than anything I did in that video is Jeff's driving, Jan's in the back filming, and me and him are just talking back and forth. He slams on the brakes in the middle of this dirt road. He says, my goodness, what a snake. And there was about a 5-foot long rattlesnake in the middle of the road. Well, we get out. I said, let's catch it. I'm not scared of snakes.
Oh, Lord.
So
Make my heart beat fast.
Jeff has got a stick on its head, and I'm reaching down trying to catch the snake behind the head. And every time I get just about the snake, Jeff pulls the stick away, and the snake strikes at me. And we're cussing back and forth. I said, you idiot, you're going to get me bit, you're going to get me bit. So I get me a stick. And when Jeff is I'm just about to grab the snake, Jeff pulls his stick back. Well, I take my stick and I throw the snake on him. Well, then he turns around, throws the snake back on me.
Oh, Lord.
And the commentary of Jan on the phone filming all this, when you got two grown men out in the middle of a dirt road with two sticks and a live 5-foot rattlesnake, throwing it on each other. At this point, the snake's got to be thinking, what in the heck is going on, But I honestly think because my video was only supposed to be about 10 minutes long, and I think it was 32 minutes. And they told me, because we went from there to the lake to a cabin party, and then I came back and showed them around my place. Yeah, I think that's really what got me on the show is us playing with a live rattlesnake.
Oh, my Lord. And nobody got bit?
No.
Holy cow. I could not have done that. I would have been running for the hills.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us, you won. You're the king of the rednecks. You won $100,000.
I was so ready to get my money, because when you've got that kind of money coming to you, and it was $100,000.
Yeah.
They didn't take taxes out like you think.
Oh, yeah, you got to pay for that.
You got to pay taxes later on that. But I just went to I kept my job. I was working. It's not like I won the lottery and won $40 million, $100,000. But I literally got off work one day and went to the mailbox. And when I went to the mailbox, there's this plain white envelope. And I opened the envelope because it was addressed to me, and it was just a check of $100,000. And I just stood there in such disappointment on the side of the road, looking up and down the county road, thinking,
there's got to be a camera crew here somewhere.
No Ed McMahon, no balloons, no parade, no nothing. It was the most depressing thing in the world. Now, of course, my wife, she was all excited about it. We finally got the money, but it was kind of disappointing that it wasn't any more grandeur. I figured they'd bring out one of those 6-foot checks. And
I would think it'd be a production.
It'd be a production. One thing I will say, and this is not to trample on the reality business at all, reality TV shows, but understand this. Enjoy the limelight, because as soon as you're not profitable anymore, they're done with you.
Yeah.
And luckily, I got burned out really quick when it comes out that I won the show. And the media attention I was getting and all the appearances I had to do, and even in my hometown, I could go into Walmart and try to get a dozen eggs, and it'd take me 2 hours.
Yeah, because everybody wants to talk to you.
I was so ready for it to be over with.
Yeah, it's exhausting, I'm sure.
It is. The traveling that you have to do is very exhausting.
So how did, on a show like this, you can't announce that you're the winner until it's all said and done. So, how did that play out? Did Jan find out when you got the check in the mail?
Okay, so the way that this stuff works, before you ever are filmed for the show, there is a ton of paperwork you have to fill out, and all of it's a contract.
Right.
So basically, I was under contract with Viacom, who owns MTV and CMT, for a year. Signed several contracts, but one of the contracts that I signed basically said, in layman's terms, you can't tell anybody what the outcome of this competition is until it airs. And they not only made you sign that, but they put what they would sue you for at the end of it, which was more numbers than I know I'd never make in my life.
Right.
So when I got home, the only people that knew what happened on that island were the people that were on the island. We all signed the same agreement. So my wife and my family and my kids and all my friends, they did not find out until the night of the finale.
So you came home.
I came home and I kept
didn't say a word.
I did not.
Just said, okay, it's over, and didn't say anything.
Now you got to understand, I lost 25 pounds on that island. We were there for 30 days, and because of the eating conditions and the living conditions, I lost 25 pounds. So when I got off of that plane, Jan and my kids didn't recognize me.
Wow.
Because it was a brutal way to lose 25 pounds.
Oh, I can imagine.
2, I was so tired that I wasn't real talkative anyway. So it took me getting my energy back just wanting to be around a lot of people. Fortunately, I got that back under my belt, and that's when the press and the media outlets started calling. I had to start doing
So how many weeks did you sit on that you were the winner? How did you tell them?
I got back in October, and I think it was January when it came out. Oh my
gosh.
Yeah.
So Jan, your family didn't know till January.
No. Now my son, he's pretty crafty with a computer. And there was at one time that I was doing an appearance in Ellick City. Jake's restaurant was throwing me a party. And anytime I had something that CMT didn't schedule for me, I had to get approval that I could do it because I was an entity of CMT and Viacom. So I called and told my representative that I was going to be at this restaurant here locally. And they said, oh, we'll send you some artwork. Well, again, me not being tech savvy, they sent this on one of them pegs, JPEG, MPEG, NPEG, whatever. Knowing I didn't know what any of that stuff meant, I gave it to my son. Well, my son was able to extract it from my email, but at the same time, he found a back door into CMT and was able to look at some of the pictures that were coming up in different episodes. Now, he never truly figured it out, but he did figure out by each episode because those pictures were sent to final production a week prior to their coming on TV. He did have it figured out that I wasn't going home that night when the show was airing that night. So it was pretty funny to see how crafty he was at that age.
Interesting. Would you do it again?
The 40-year-old me, yes.
Not 50-year-old?
Not 50-year-old me.
Well, I'm thinking Naked and Afraid should be your next show.
Funny you should ask.
Okay, guys, we're going to take our final break of the hour. We'll be right back on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
That's right. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I'm doing good. I went in for a full physical yesterday, requirement by my insurance company, and the doctor was like, "Wow, you're doing good." So I was glad. I was very happy to hear that.
Well, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Lost some weight. Blood looked good. So, yeah, all good.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I also had a doctor appointment yesterday and went in and, it was one of those appointments, bend over and cough and all that kind of worst dentist ever, I'm telling you. Jamie, how are we looking out there on traffic? I think you had some updates for us while we were on break this week.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays on tncradio.live.
Welcome back, y'all. It's our final segment with Wade Jones, Season 2 winner of Redneck Island.
So when you come back from one of those shows and you're riding the lightning like I was, and like I said, it took me a little while to get tired of it. But when I first came back, I actually had Jennifer that won the first season contact me. And she said, "Hey, I've got this cool idea." I said, "What?" She said, "Have you ever thought about the Amazing Race?"
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, that's a team competition, right?" She said, "Yes, they have a celebrity version coming up." I said, "Okay, what are you thinking?" She said, "Me and you, winner of 1 and 2, doing the celebrity race. That's $1 million winning.
That's a prize right
That's
there.
a prize there. Now, that one, I could take some time off." That never came to be. We never did get selected as a team. But Naked and Afraid started gaining a lot of popularity back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my wife. She said, "Go ahead." So I grabbed the computer and I signed up for Naked and Afraid because I am a huge outdoor.
Yes, it's perfect for you.
I mean, when you're an armchair quarterback and you're sitting back and you've got this couple sitting in the Bosnian, outback or whatever, and they're battling bugs and snakes and wildebeest and everything, and I'm the armchair quarterback. Well, this is what I do, Jan. I would do it this way. She said, "Yeah, that's right up your alley. Just being naked, that's just a plus." If there's one thing that the hippies had right, free love and nakedness, I'm all about that. So I fill out the application online, and just like happened with Naked and Afraid, my phone rings about 2 weeks later, and I saw it was LA, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm getting selected again." I answer the phone, and who is it but one of the directors? And they said, "Well, we were glad to see you applied," said, "but we do have a little problem." I said, "What's that?" Said, "Do you know a Jim Morton?" I said, "Yeah, that's my cousin. He's from Montgomery." I said, "Yeah, he's one of the producers of the show."
Oh.
There was a family link, and that's a no-no in Hollywood.
allowed.
I'm not allowed.
So you were going to be chosen.
I was wanting to be chosen. I don't know if they were going to choose me.
They were going to choose you. I know they were going to choose
and Jan
you.
she was okay with it. She said, "Okay."
Well, I know you'd be completely comfortable doing that, and I know you would have a ton of fun doing it, and you'd like
Shannon,
die
I'm gonna have
out
a
there
ton of
before
fun
you
doing anything.
You have a ton of fun doing anything. And so, talking about the nakedness, you do have a story that you shared on your Facebook that absolutely cracked me up because, what you do now is Croc Fit Splitter Yoga. I've heard that your new business is called Croc Fit Splitter Yoga.
Yeah.
He actually owns a wood splitting company where he does firewood and gets firewood.
Sell firewood. Yeah.
Sells firewood, and so that's what he does now. And he's a businessman. He's done lots of things. He owned convenience store. He's owned the pawn shop that was here in Eclectic that was so well known and everybody loved. And COVID seemed to take that out. Yeah. And he started an axe throwing business here. Wade's all about his local community and giving back and promoting the local businesses around here. He's fantastic at that. And that's one of the things everybody loves about him. But now he owns his own firewood company. And so I hear that there's a story last week about how hot it has been here. Because during the day, y'all, the real feel out here is 110.
Yes.
And can you imagine how hot it is splitting wood out there? But that in the South and in the country boys down here and us rednecks, we got creeks.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, when I closed the axe throwing venue and the pawn shop, I've been working with the public for 30 years, and I'm turning 50 this year. I really didn't know which way I wanted to go. I just had to make some adjustments because I'm getting to the age that I don't need to start over. per
Right.
se. So anyway, me and my wife talked, and I told her I was going to take a little time. So the firewood selling business came to mind. And that's something that not a whole lot of investment. And all it does you just work. When it's as hot as it is now, and you're dealing with 95% humidity on a day that the temperature is hovering around 100 degrees, you get what you're going to get done early in the morning. Another thing that I do like to do, and I've been doing it for years, even back before Redneck Island, I would work out first thing in the morning. And on my morning jog, I would stop and do a little inspirational quote or something like that.
Right.
And I don't know how far you can go back on my history on my Facebook page, but you can find some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I love pancakes, there was one of my friends on Facebook that nicknamed me King Pancake.
Right.
So
I was going to ask you about that.
That is my Facebook personality that I use when I do my little videos. Nothing is staged when I do a video. I just go out there and turn it on because I'm not smart enough to edit and all that. What you see is what you get.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. I like that.
You can also go to my Facebook page and see a calendar that I did.
I was going to say, now I know you were working on a calendar.
The calendar just kind of blew up in two ways.
Are those being sold? How have I missed that?
No. They're not being sold.
All right.
This is what happened. So I had this idea from a friend of mine. She had one of these boudoir sessions done. She's a beautiful girl, and it lifts up your self-confidence so much.
Right.
Anybody knows me, I don't have a self-confidence problem.
No.
But at the same time, I thought, hey, this could be a lot of fun. Well, my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, she's a photographer. So I called my son-in-law. I said, look, I know this is kind of weird, but I've got this idea. I've got everything set up. All I need is a really good camera and a photographer. But when I told him what I wanted to do, because they were going to be sexy pictures of me.
Right.
Remember, 265 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
King Redneck in his camouflage Speedo.
They didn't think that was something they wanted to put their name on. So I called the young lady that's a friend of mine that actually had the boudoir session done. I said, hey, I've got this idea. I know you got one of those real fancy fangled cameras, because if not, I'm going to have to do it on my, $200 phone.
Right.
Would you be willing to do it? She said, oh my goodness, yes, I want to be a part of this. So she was really surprised when she showed up that I had all the props, everything already set up. Well, I had to, guys. I was in a camouflage Speedo in the middle of December, not December, but November. It was cold.
It was cold.
So anyway, I took a lot of cool pictures of some hunting scenes, some farming scenes, some fishing scenes, and made a whole monthly calendar out of it. I did this for my wife.
Yeah.
As a joke. Well, when I had the calendar printed up, it wasn't going to be any more to get 1 printed or 5 printed.
Right.
So I just went ahead and got 5 printed. I gave my mom one just as a joke. Of course, I gave Jan one. And I've got a good friend in Ellick City that I gave him one. And when I was leaving out that morning to go and deliver these calendars, remember what I said earlier in this interview, don't tell me not to do something.
Yeah.
Jan
I'll do it twice and take pictures.
Jan told me, don't you spread that around Ellick City. So I could not wait to get down to my friend's pawn shop. And I said, put that right on the back of your board. So my wife works for the city of Ellick City, and every police officer came in, had to look at it, and then go back and give her grief.
Tell her about it.
I gave my buddy Chris George down here a copy. I said, spread it around like wildfire. It'll make Jan really happy. I started getting all these comments. And by the way, everybody loved it. It was just funny. That's what it was.
The pictures are hilarious.
They're awesome.
It
was just supposed to be funny, and that's what it was. So I got the idea. We had just had a community, I think it was in Oklahoma, that was hit by a tornado. And I said, you know what? I'll get some more of these things printed up, and all the proceeds I'll send to help the victims of the tornado.
Mm-hmm.
And I started checking on the calendars. Well, the calendars had gone up in price because it was December and they were trying to get ready for next year's order because everybody had already ordered their calendars for
that
2023.
year. Yeah.
So even though I had a lot of support and I was going to get these things reprinted, the price that I was going to have to pay to get the current year's done, it just kind of fell apart. Now, the good thing is we have an idea, me and a couple of more of my buddies, of taking some of my favorite photos, getting them in it, and I will say they're large mammals too. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to do a I'm too sexy for my shirt calendar.
I love it. We're going to have one of those.
Oh.
Our calendar hangs right inside our pantry door. I'm going to have
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have a big boy calendar hanging in there.
It'll happen. They'll be ready. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it done by this year, but it's coming in. And we've all three already decided that whatever we make off of them, we're going to give to a charity. So
Yeah, find a charity.
It's
to
not
donate it to,
anything to make money. If there's one thing that I've learned in my 50 years on this earth, I was a very driven person when I was younger. I thought that I had to work as many hours a day that my body would hold up as many days of the week to provide for my family. After my family was raised and gone, I still had that idea of you've got to work as much as you can to make every dollar you can to provide for your wife. I can sit here today with you and tell you that 50 years old and having a wife that just likes being around you, money means absolutely nothing to me. I'm not a rich man. I am rich in the love of my friends. I'm rich in the love of my family, that my dad instilled to me, that work ethic that he paid for 130 acres of family land, that the way I get to do what I do now is not only from my blood and sweat, but the blood and sweat of my family. So I'm blessed, and money doesn't mean anything to me. The money that I make, I just soon give it away than spend it anyway.
I think that's where we get as we get older and we realize, over half of our life is over, and we really do realize what's important, and that's where we want to spend the rest of our time
You're
here.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, I have enjoyed every second of this.
Hey, we can do this again some other time.
I had no doubt. I told you it was going to be fun from the
Shannon,
beginning.
we could totally pick another topic that I know nothing about and spend
and
just
still
as
do
much
it. We have to do a karaoke session or something. We haven't done karaoke in way too long.
Oh, I know. We hadn't had any place. But now I do. My friend Mira is coming into town. She's breezing into town this time just for one night. But at the end of July, she's coming to stay with me for a week. And we always have to make the circuit. Well, she wants to go to a little bit of Texas. So we can pick that night, a bit closer for y'all. And they still do karaoke down there.
Yeah, they started it back up. They were doing it on Wednesday nights. Of course, I'm there every Thursday night still for line dance.
Right.
I go every Thursday night, and I actually want to do a interview with Freddie.
Oh, yeah.
Over there,
yeah.
about his life and times in Nashville as a musician and band, and about
we
our
could
local bar.
We could do one whole episode of the chicken bingo.
Yeah, chicken blank bingo.
Because if you remember, I was his MC here when he started that. And guys, when he first told me of the idea, I didn't know how it would go over, but it was so much fun every time we did it down here.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, well, I have to do it. That's actually, Freddie's on my list of people to talk to, and he has this awesome game, y'all. I think we can say this. It's chicken shit bingo, and it's like a cage, and it's got this.
It's got numbers on it.
It's got numbers in it and squares and a chicken in there, and you pick a number and you bet where you think the chicken is going to go poop first. And it is a hoot.
It is a
to
hoot.
watch. It is. It's so funny. And Wednesday nights they do karaoke and cornhole. Thursday nights we do line dancing, and of course, Friday nights and Saturday nights Freddie and his band are playing. So we'll be catching up with them soon. I want to share a little bit about Freddie's stories.
Sure.
Got a lot of connections and very well known in Nashville for many, many years.
Traveled the world.
So we'll be sharing about him too. So we'll have to get you in on that one as well. I'm sure there's stories.
Of course there are. Of course there are. Well, I appreciate you having me, and it's been a long time since I've done a sat-down interview, and I really have enjoyed it.
I've had fun.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's been a blast.
Been a blast. See you next time.
All right, y'all. See you next time.
Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today.
Don't forget, you can hear all of our TNC Radio primetime shows again on our podcasts. Just go to tncradio.live/podcasts or search for tncradio.live wherever you listen to podcasts.